Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome to each of you. Congratulations on your nominations. Mr. Evans, let's start with you. As you said in your opening statement, if confirmed, you would oversee the Bureau of Diplomatic Security, DS. As you said, DS holds the mandate for ensuring the physical security of our staff and their families. That mandate includes the safety of our former diplomats, regardless of party affiliation. Too often, our foreign adversaries look at Washington and they see Republicans or Democrats in charge, and they think that we would tolerate the targeting of former officials of the other party, because that's how things work in their regimes. It should go without saying that the targeting of any former official, Republican or Democrat, will incur the full wrath of the United States. Our foreign adversaries should understand that. Nevertheless, if confirmed, you would also be in charge of making sure that any such targeting failed. To the extent that any former official faces a serious and credible threat from a foreign power, there is no toleration on this committee, zero, to allow partisanship into DS. Can you commit, if confirmed, to ensure that DS remains fully and entirely nonpartisan?
Thank you for that question, Senator. As I said in my opening statement, the security and protection of our people overseas is the most important thing we do, and it also holds to our officials here in the United States. And yes, I do believe that we have a responsibility to make sure that we uphold the commitments that we've made, regardless of party.
It's important for any adversaries to understand. The previous administration, the Biden administration, I disagreed with them on a host of issues. I think their foreign policy did enormous damage in this world. But there is zero tolerance for any efforts to harm or murder officials from the Biden administration, and any adversary should expect an overwhelming response from the United States government should they attempt to do so. Mr. Lamelas. Corruption poses direct risks to American national security. It enables our adversaries and our enemies to exploit corruption to literally buy up governments. For example, Argentina's former president, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, undermined the rule of law in Argentina with corruption. Kirchner is implicated in the 2015 death of Argentine Special Prosecutor Alberto Nisman. He was murdered the day before he was set to present evidence to the Argentine Congress that would have suggested Kirchner's collusion with Iran to cover up Iran's role in the 1994 AMIA bombing in Buenos Aires, the worst terrorist attack in Argentina's history. To counter such corruption, Congress has provided the president with powerful sanctions, including and especially so-called 7031C sanctions. The former Biden administration repeatedly politicized those sanctions, using them as a bludgeon against countries and international figures whom Democrats simply don't like. Meanwhile, they refuse to act against figures like Kirchner, who are embraced by the global populist left. In March 2025, the Trump administration quickly ended that double standard. The State Department rightly sanctioned Kirchner under 7031C authorities. In Argentina, she is now under house arrest for corruption, and President Milei has gone far in reversing her policies which undermined America and boosted our adversaries. Please give me your best judgment as to the challenges still presented by Kirchner's legacy and what the United States should be doing to restore the U.S.-Argentinian relationship under Milei.
Thank you for that question, Senator. First and foremost, I want to thank you. You were one of the first that called out Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, CFK. I read in my preparation for this over the last few weeks, I read a letter that you sent to Secretary Blinken back in 2022, calling for sanctions, calling for sanctioning her and her family. And I want to thank you for that. I think you were the first to have called that out in the United States. I'm glad it's happened now with Secretary Rubio. She has been prosecuted and found guilty of fraud by not one, but two courts. Our version of the Supreme Court found her guilty. If she wasn't a politician there, she would be in prison. She's on house arrest because of some political favoritism that's going on down there. And obviously, she wasn't involved in the AMIA bombings that we know of, but she was definitely involved in the cover-up of somehow. And God knows if she was involved in the death of the special prosecutor. I applaud Malay's efforts to get to the bottom of this. I think we need to continue to investigate who was at fault for the bombings. There is an arrest warrant out apparently on some member of Hezbollah. And I support any efforts to continue, the problem with Argentina is that it's not a problem, it's just a challenge, a solution. There are 23 provinces, and each of the provinces have their own separate government. And their own separate government could negotiate with external forces, with the Chinese or others, to come in and do projects in that particular province. And that may also lend towards corruption on the part of the Chinese. One of my roles as ambassador would be to travel to all the provinces and have dialogue and have a true partnership with those governors. Not only with the president, not only with President Milei, Geraldo Wortham, the foreign minister, Luis Caputo, Santiago Caputo, and everybody in the Malay government, but my role is also to get out into the countryside and make sure that we weed out corruption and support Malay and the Malay government on all their efforts to get to the bottom of the Mia bombing and to make sure that Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner receives the justice that she well deserves. There is still a movement out there. There's a Kirchnerist movement. It's even a far lefter, probably even further left than the Peronist movement. And that's something that we need to continue to watch out for. Argentina has had very unusual times. They've had multiple presidencies. And we need to continue to support the Malay presidency through the midterms and through the next term to be able to build a better relationship between our two countries.
Thank you.
Thank you. To add any letters of support that the committee may have received, I have in hand actually a letter from Senator Lee in favor of Dr. Lamelas here that I'd like to ask unanimous consent to submit, plus any others that might be on the way. I'd also note for the information of members that the record will remain open until the close of business tomorrow, July 23rd, including for members to submit questions for the record. With the thanks of the committee,